Welcome to the show, Misty Bruton from Texas. How are you doing today?
I am doing fabulous. Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited. We were referred by Tristan at Labcoat, and he told me, you've got to get Misty on. Misty's been through some crazy stuff. She's come through it and is just doing, got an amazing business these days and doing incredible things. So there's a lot to be learned from your story. So I'm excited about to get into the details. And I think what we'll do is let's go back to the beginning. The audience has already had a little bit of an overview. So I want to dive into where it all started for you. And what was your inspiration? What made you want to get into real estate? And when was that?
Yeah, so I have actually been licensed for many, many years. I originally got licensed back in 94. I think I was like 19 years old. So that's where this journey started with real estate. But life and different scenarios kind of got me in and out of the real estate industry. So I'll go back and kind of share a little bit of the history on what that looked like. But I am from a small town, a very, very small town. Now it's much bigger. But my upbringing was in a very, very small country town in Texas. And so, I was brought up with a really humble background, blue collar, but really good morals and really good ethics and, really awesome parents. So, through that journey, I think I learned a lot of skills that really matter these days, which is the working hard and the ethics behind it. But what got me into real estate was I had a friend of mine in the past who his family was in real estate. So that to me looked like something that really intrigued me. So I started that journey, and I didn't really have a lot of success in the past. So I, kind of muddled my way through it. But what it did was create a really awesome foundation. After I've gone through, which I'm excited to share with you. I can't say I can't wait to share it, but I'm excited to share it because I know somebody today is going to hear this and really resonate with it. It created a really awesome foundation for me to come back to when I needed it most later in life. So there's that.
Cool. So yeah, tell me, I know you got licensed at 19. And then when did you actually, it sounds to me from what I heard, the last 5 years is when things have really taken off for you.
Yes.
And there was a difficult path. You basically started with nothing 5 years ago. How did you get to a point of having nothing? I mean, what happened there and how did you dig yourself out of that? I'm really curious to hear how that all went down.
That's the story. So most of my life, through my 20s and my 30s, I just kind of functioned through life. From the outside, looked like I was winning. On the inside, I was an empty shell of just broken, hot mess. I didn't have much drive or ambition. I didn't ever have any mentors. I wasn't really surrounded by many people that saw something special in me. I was just kind of that average girl that made everything look really cool on the outside, but inside I was really broken. And so where the destruction really started and where the real journey began was 8 years ago. This facade that I had built around myself really was an empty shell. And so I found myself somehow, still looking back, I don't really understand it, but I found myself in a very abusive relationship, probably because, something along my life path made me believe that abuse was love for some reason. It didn't make sense for the person, that facade that I was previously. But long story short, this relationship lasted for 3 years and it destroyed me. I literally lost along the path everything that I had ever created. I didn't have a lot of money that I had saved, but what little I did have was gone. I lost my home. I lost my car. I lost every material possession item that I've ever known. Photographs, clothing. In fact, in one fell swoop, all of it was gone. This person destroyed it in effort of controlling. Who knows? The the craziness that was going on in my life, nobody really understood. My family, my friends, they abandoned me because they just didn't understand. They thought I had lost my mind. In my brain, I don't know what I was thinking, but long story short, it was starting over from ground zero. When I eventually got out of that relationship, it was starting over with not even a penny to my name. So I literally called my ex-husband, the father of my children, and I said, I need help. I don't know where to go. I am homeless. I have no car. I have no money. I have nothing. And I have nowhere to go because I've been abandoned by everybody and I need help. So for 6 months, I slept on my ex-husband's couch. And that's where it started. I started putting the pieces back together. I worked odd and end jobs, anything that I could do where it didn't require, a car or whatever I could do. If I could get there, if I could figure out a way to get there, I saved money. I got my real estate license back, and that's where this journey, it was like being reborn. That's all I can say. It was like being born again because I really, really started from the darkest place that I could even imagine.
Wow. Wow. That's wild. How, you said you had kids. When you're in this abusive relationship, were these the kids from the ex-husband? And if so, how many? What are those? Yeah.
So I have 4 children, none of them from that relationship, thank God. But no, these are from previous to that. So I have, I have a divorce in my past. So that, is a whole nother dynamic. But my children are, my oldest is 24. He is awesome. He's a captain he's a fire captain in Houston. My daughter my only girl is 20 years old. She is in college here in the same city where I live. I have an awesome relationship with her. And then my 2 younger ones are in high school. So during the process of all of this, it was, I lost my relationship with my children pretty much because they thought mom had lost her brains. But, they have a great dad. And honestly, in the reality of it, everything looking back worked out. And I have a better relationship now than I could have even imagined because it built bonds. It built real, authentic life. And they learned lessons too through it all. So I don't regret it. I guess that's where it's at. If you take your life lessons and you realize that you got to find the silver linings, there's a reason it happened. There's really no explanation that can make sense, but there's a reason and there's a testimony and there is a story that can help others.
Would you say, the kids were a big part of what pulled you through a lot of that?
Yeah, for sure. And, the fire that I have in my belly today is I've seen the darkness. I've been there. I've lived it. I have walked through the darkest days that I can even fathom and imagine. And so now I appreciate the small things in life, and I am determined to build a legacy that my children can say, she's amazing. She did this. Like, she made it through that. She came out of it. She's awesome. That's what means the world to me, is that they know that they're resilient like that too. And no matter what comes at them in life, they can walk through those fires and they have it in them too.
That's amazing. I've got goosebumps. I'm a father, so I think everyone listening can understand, as a parent, how powerful the persuasion, and how motivating your children can be. So love it. Okay, so you moved, you're in with the ex-husbands, you're sleeping on the couch, you're pulling everything back together, and you get your real estate license.
Yep.
What made you decide? Well, you had it in the past, hadn't you? So you're going back to it. You had to reset the test, get licensed again. What made you decide to do that at that stage? Because you probably had other options.
I did. I think it was, I really loved real estate and I really loved helping people. I love houses. I love real estate. You can make great money and I really love people. And at that point, it seemed like I think it was just a natural evolution to get back in to real estate. I knew that I had a fire in my belly at that point, that I needed to do great things. I was pulling myself from the darkest place, and it was time. I needed to catapult myself forward, and real estate was the biggest opportunity that I could afford to get myself back into. I had already had my license, so I already knew how to do real estate. And I thought, boy, this time I can be great. I can do something with it this time.
Cool. So you got your license, you're back in the game. How does it start off?
It starts off quite interesting. So I did have success. I got my first couple of listings. I got the fire. I mean, super fire in my belly. I was doing everything I needed to do, making my calls, getting out there, finally got a car, got myself back on my feet, got a computer, all the things you need to do to be successful in real estate. And somewhere along the way, my ex-husband, who I'm very good friends with, lost his job. He was a vice president of a very large corporation, has always had a very stable income. And so he was devastated. This had been his whole life. And so he came to me at this point and said, I don't know what I'm going to do. I lost my job and I need to do something. And so I said, you know what? I'm building this real estate business. Maybe you could be the business side of things and I can be the sales side of things, and we can figure it out. So the dynamics behind how that was created, we're still friends at this point. I'm actually engaged to be married to somebody else. But we are really, really good friends. And for our children's sake, we started building this business. And so he kind of does the financial side that I don't want to do. And I get out in front of clients and sell houses. And now it's turned into a very large team. But starting it back, the dynamics, it's almost just like everything came together. And it just created some really awesome synergy in the universe that made things start to pop in a really good, positive way.
So initially you went out on your own right from the beginning. You didn't hang your license with anyone else, straight by yourself.
Yeah. So I got my broker's license at some point, but what I did was I hung it with I did go to a brokerage to begin with until I got my broker's license. I wasn't a broker yet at this point. So I started it out that way. And then I created an LLC brokerage where I could do my own thing and hang my license under an LLC brokerage. And then probably 6 months into doing all of this and recreating, I got my broker's license. And that's kind of where the team element started.
So you got your license and then you pretty much straight away started studying for your broker license as well. And what was the decision behind that? I mean, it's kind of unusual, isn't it?
I don't know. I think for me, it's just I knew I was going to go big. I knew that I had a fire in my belly because, it's almost like a slingshot. When you've been pulled back so incredibly far, you know how far forward you're going to go from that. So I think it was just another milestone, another achievement that I needed to complete for my own self-confidence, for my own just achievement. I set out to do really big things, and that was just the first step moving in the right direction. I really didn't know at that point what the vision was. I was just going to sell some real estate, get my place back on my feet, and then figure it out from there. But everything just had led from one thing to the next, and getting my broker's license was just one of those milestones that I knew if I could do that, then I was heading in the right direction.
So that was, what year was that?
I got my broker's license in 2016.
2016. Okay. So it's only been 3 years.
Yep.
Wow. Okay. So tell me, I mean, your business is big today, right? We'll get to that in a second, but so we got your broker's license. What were that first year you were in business? How did you really grow the business? I mean, I interviewed Robert Slack yesterday, right? He was all internet leads, but everyone has a different way of doing this. I mean, what was your thing?
Yeah. So I made a very, very good decision. So in 2016, I was just getting this started. I was still not very far away from the dark side that I had just exited. And I was just doing a lot of studying. I was researching online. I was like, how do I grow my business? What do I need to do? Because again, I wasn't surrounded by a lot of people. I was doing my own thing. That's the only way that I knew how to do real estate at that time. So I read a blog somewhere along the way. I have no idea what it was. And they said like 5 groups that you need to join. And one of those groups was lab coat agents. So I joined these groups, and none of the other ones were that great, but I found lab coats and I studied that Facebook page like I was studying for an exam. I mean, I just went through every post and I was reading how these people were having success and they were using Facebook, and I didn't know any of this at this point. So I really studied that group like a science. And I have to give a real big shout out to both Tristan and Nick, because I was nobody at that point. I mean, nobody knew my name or anything. And I was bold enough to reach out to both of them and ask questions like, tell me more about this. What exactly, how are you doing this? How are you growing your business? And they both responded. Like, they didn't need to respond. That group was ginormous, but they did. And since that day, I just have such a genuine appreciation in my heart for both of those guys, because they're just so kind in what they do. I mean, Tristan is the one that connected us here, but that's really where it started, was lab coat agents. And from there, it turned into, meeting the people that I needed to meet to level up from there.
So did you ever have, it sounds like you didn't, you never at this stage had any real mentor that you could rely on to get these questions. You went into the group to find the answers and you had no coaching.
No.
See,
at this point of the game, I had, honestly, in my entire life, I have never had a mentor that I didn't have anybody to go to. I didn't have anybody around me. I didn't know how to do any of this amazing stuff that they were talking about. I had to go and find it, but I was hungry. I was hungry to understand it. I saw these people the minute I got into that group. I saw people succeeding. I saw numbers of transactions being closed that blew my mind. And I just got really, really hungry to know more. And I went and found it myself.
So what would you say were a couple of the big strategies you learned that you executed on that have paid massive dividends for you?
So the first thing I did was, I guess it's the geo targeting on Facebook. So I realized, wow, if I could make myself a celebrity, if I was going to do an open house, or if I was going to, if I just got a listing or whatever it was, if I could geofence around that area and just blast everybody, however big that radius was, then I could become a celebrity in those areas. And so I went crazy on that. I thought, this is fascinating. I can use Facebook to grow my business. And so I started doing that. And before I knew it, probably in about a 90-day period of time, here I was, the solo agent, working behind my computer, going on appointments, when I could. And I remember stepping into one of these areas. We had gone to dinner, and I stepped into that area. It's like a 2-mile radius, but I just had been lucky enough to get a listing in this area, and I really liked it. So I just blasted and spent as much money as I could afford on targeting that area with my face and ads. And we went to dinner one night, and everybody was whispering. They were like, there's that girl. There's that girl. Oh my God. And people would approach me and be like, you're killing it. Like, you're amazing. I mean, I see you everywhere. And I thought, at that point, I literally had not closed a deal. I had not closed, not one deal. I had gotten a couple of listings, but I had not closed a deal. And I thought, this is really, really working. Like, wow, this is amazing. So that was one of the big ones that I really bought into. And then just it was Facebook. I used Facebook just for the people that I had on it. I probably broke every rule that, somebody should not do, which is, 80% personal and 20% business. I was 100% business. I was just like, I'm your agent, I'm your girl. And, I probably lost some people and did it all wrong. But at the end of the day, people knew who I was, and they would call me when they wanted to do business or when they needed help.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. Lab Coat has a ton of content around social media.
Yeah.
So, okay. So this was probably, you're still 2016, maybe creeping into 2017. At what stage do you start bringing on agents? I mean, I know today you have a decent sized team. Walk me through that next phase.
Yes. So through Lab Coat agents, I started seeing a bunch of people talking about getting a coach. And I thought, what is this coach thing? I mean, I've been in sports, I've been coached, but at this stage of my life, I've never really had a business coach. And I'm thinking, I don't know if I can afford this. Like, what's it about? So I start researching that, and I interview a couple of different companies, and then I get to Club Wealth. And I get on a strategy call with Michael Hellickson, and he said everything I needed to hear. So did everybody else, but he said it in a way that I could really understand, which is, I'm going to help you take your business to the next level. I knew I had good skills in real estate. I knew how to talk to people. I knew how to get in front of people and write up listing agreements and write contracts and show houses. But what I didn't know how to do was really run a business. So when I heard I'm going to help you run a business, I was all in. I didn't know how I was going to pay for it. I didn't have that amount of money in the bank. I'm surprised he even let me do it. But he, for some reason in that moment, believed in me. And I said, okay, I'll do it. You guys have a 60-day cancellation. Worst case, if I have to cancel, I'll just cancel. So I bought into it, freaking out, having a panic attack of, I don't have this amount of money to pay for coaching. And looking back, it wasn't a lot of money. It's just I didn't have any at that point. So I jumped in, and I said to myself, you owe it to yourself. Just do what your coach tells you to do. Just trust the process. They know better than you, and just do it. And what I found after joining Club Wealth is a group of people that are succeeding at such an incredibly high level. I was now surrounded by people that were succeeding. So when they say ingrain yourself, surround yourself with people that are doing more than you are, because you're the average of those people, I could not agree more. I elevated so fast the minute I joined Club Wealth. I'm still with them to this day. I've been with them for the last 3 years, and I am just such a raving fan, because being born again, so to say, starting my life from ground zero, it's the first time in my life that I have a mentors who believe in me, who are pushing me to be better. So to me, it's just an amazing group of people.
I'm curious, who's your main coach over there?
My coach right now is Michael Hellickson.
Oh, okay.
I have had several. I started out at a much lower level. I've grown my business tremendously. My goal throughout being in Club Wealth was to be able to coach directly with Michael Hellickson. So as of maybe 5 months ago, I'm now coaching directly with him, which is a true honor.
So I know we know Club Wealth very well. And yeah, they're fantastic. I know one thing they're really good at is helping, brokers like yourself or agents really take advantage of leverage. What are some of the big leverage sort of technology tools or processes that you've implemented? Because obviously, you can't sit there and do all your Facebook ads and stuff and try and figure out what's going on Facebook all day long. You've grown your business exponentially. What sort of leverage have you sort of been able to employ?
Yeah, leverage is my absolute favorite word. I think that was the first thing that I learned after. It took me about 90 days in coaching to just kind of figure out what coaching was about. But after I got past those 90 days and I really became aware, leverage became my best friend. Like, if I had to pick any word in the real estate business seriously, it would be leverage. So when I finally figured it out, I had these broken thoughts about, or mindset limitations where I couldn't afford an assistant. I couldn't afford technology. I couldn't, I kept thinking from this shallow, limited mindset that hiring an assistant, that sounds really expensive. And then there's taxes and, great. I'm sure y'all are able to do it because y'all make a lot of money. When my coach showed me that I started with a virtual assistant. I paid her. She is still with me to this day. I call her my boss because she knows my company better than I do. But when I hired my very first person to use as leverage, it was a VA, and I paid her $600 a month. And what the value she provided me was probably 50,000 plus a year, because she was now managing my database. She became my listing coordinator. So she was managing paperwork and different things that, I didn't have time to deal with. I just didn't have enough hours in the day to do it all. So that's the very first piece of leverage. From there, I took it on to technology. We have amazing technology in our company now. So that's a lot of the leverage. We use FirePoint. Huge shout out to FirePoint. I love FirePoint. We use Hire Ava, which is an AI and a human interactive ISA. They do texting and emailing. We use Ylopo, of course. I love Ylopo, one of my favorite pieces of leverage that we have. And then we have an entire group of, and this has come from everything that we do when it comes to leverage comes from return on investment. So what my coach told me early on was, Misty, I know you probably think today you don't have an extra $600 a month to go and invest, but here's the way we look at things. We invest in things that are going to allow you to get out in front of more clients and write more business. So that $600 should turn into $2,600 in 30 days. If you could bring in an extra $5,000 a month, isn't that $600 worth it? So that's how I look at everything. I look at it forecasting forward on, if I implement this, will I have an ROI on it? And the answer, usually is yes.
Gotcha. Just going back to the first piece of leverage, your virtual assistant, was that overseas, I assume, for $600 a month?
Yep. Her name is Shelly. She is still here with us today, and she is amazing. She is in the Philippines. We have now hired her husband, and they both work for us. She is my transaction coordinator. She does some of my listing coordination. She literally runs some of the meetings with our team. If she is the nuts and bolts of our company. She is very, very much, and I've never met her in person.
Oh, what was I going to say? Yeah, at Ylopo here, we have about 60 staff actually in Manila. Yes. So we do a big Christmas party down there. So if you want to, we can invite Shelly to the mood and meet everybody.
That would be amazing. Yes.
Just curious, how did you find her?
So I found her through an online site. I can't remember what it's called. Online jobs.
Onlinejobs.ph.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a great one. Okay. Very interesting. Okay, so tell me a little bit about your business today, and what are your numbers looking like?
Yes. So a little bit backwards on to kind of build up to where I'm at today. When I joined Club Wealth, they saw something in me. I don't know why. Maybe I was the shy girl. I've grown and I've changed so much. I was this shy girl who really didn't have a lot to say. Every group webinar we did, I kind of sat there and just didn't say anything. And somewhere along the way, Michael Hellickson, he was not my coach at the time, but I really, really admired him. And he was an awesome mentor. Every time I was able to talk to him, he gave me great advice. He challenged me to start building a team. So, and I really didn't at this time want to build a team. I didn't understand. I understood leverage and hiring the assistant, but I thought that building a team meant management, and it didn't really make sense to me because I still wasn't completely stable in my life. I was building to becoming very stable, but I still was on that shaky side of it. So he got me over that hump, and I did start building a team within the time that he challenged me to do that. And 9 months later, I went from hiring my first buyer's agent to having a team of 25.
Wow.
So, I think a lot of it is mindset on how to get there. How I did it, I don't think the skills is what mattered. For me, I had a mentor who I just trusted, and he just said, trust me, and just do it. It was chaos. There was some chaos, and there was a lot of, maybe I shouldn't have done that, and a messy, place where we were growing at a fast level. But I realized at that point I had mentors around me. I had a coach that was there to really help me with the dynamics, and I just trusted the system, and I had that fire in my belly. I was going to do big things, and if I was going to do big things, a lot of it was just leveling up to be in association with the people that I had now surrounded myself with. The people that I was talking to on a daily basis had teams of 25, 30 plus people. At that point, I think it really was just that dynamic of being the average of who you surround yourself with. So I went from 0 to 25 in a 9-month period of time. And now I really was the average of these people that I was surrounding myself with.
So there must have been a lot of learning moments while you're hiring that many people, recruiting, and there must have been some tough times. I mean, did you ever think to yourself at any stage, like, oh my God, I don't know if I can do this? And you're doubting yourself. And was it just your coach who was always helping you out? Or what else were you using to stay strong and get through all of that?
I will tell you, there were a lot of hard times. There was lost money and lost opportunity. Transitioning at one point, I thought that I should get out of production, because here I had this team and I was hearing from others, the goal is to get out of production. So the entire year of 2018, I was out of production and I was giving the deals to my agents. I am now back in production, and I'll share why I opted to do that. But there were a lot of confusing moments. In fact, 6 months ago, I really hit a dark spot in my business, because here I was doing what others were, kind of telling me to do, grow this team. And I just expected that people on your team would be as motivated as we are. I'm motivated. I get up every day. I do the right things. I get in the right mindset. I make my calls. I go on appointments, and I want to improve my life. But what I found is that's not true for everybody. So I kept trying to inspire people, and I kept trying to, be their raving fan, and they would leave, or they would tell me, stop trying to control me or whatever. And I thought, boy, it's not about control. I just really want good things for you, and I really want to help you, and I'm giving you all this stuff. So about 6 months ago, I hit a really dark spot in my business, and I couldn't find my way out, because people just kept damaging me, and they kept hurting me, and they kept, being mean when I was really just trying to help, assuming that they had the same mindset and desire to be better. So I am just now on the other side of that dark cloud. I just kind of existed there for a while. The team kept growing, because thank goodness for leverage. I have people who are doing recruiting. I have people that are actually running the team. So for me, I just was trying to find my way. I'm losing money, or, 1 month I'm losing money, and then 1 month it's great. Just the bouncing back and the instability really caused me confusion. Like, is this really what I want? So thanks to my coach, as of last month, he said, I think you need to get back in production. And my first thing was, that feels like going backwards. Like, we worked so hard to get me out of production. I don't want to go back and work with clients. But what I found now that I'm doing it, I have set ginormous goals for myself, and I am loving it. It's like a game to me. So now that I'm back in it, I am like bright sunshine again, no more dark cloud. But growing a team can be very, very confusing, and it can be, it's hard, especially if you're passing on clients or referrals and your team drops the ball. It's like, you can't control that. you just hope for the best. You train them and you try to do the best. But at the end of the day, there's lost opportunity. You know, like anything in life, they're probably not going to do it up to your, you know, the standards that you have, in which case you just have to accept that if you choose that route, there's a lot of pain, but there's a lot of benefits too.
Would you say you take it incredibly personally because it's your company, you've built it up, and would you say that's also, looking back at it a little bit, that could be part of the trouble?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Taking it personally is the hardest because it's money that's being invested. It's leads that are being bought. It's technology that works amazing that's just being taken for granted. It's just human behavior, right? I mean, everybody's looking out for number one. There's nothing wrong with that. That's human nature. But when you are the team leader investing in all of this money and all of this time and this effort to train, it is very hard not to take it personally.
Gotcha. So 2019, how are things looking?
They are looking really, really good. So our team, we will close, and I'm just getting started. So the cool thing is that to me, I'm so happy where we're at. If I want to compare myself, which I don't, to others, we have a far way to go. We'll close 300 deals. And our GCI will be, you know, probably just under 2 million. I have set goals for myself, which this just blows my mind, but I'm so excited. So I set these goals 2 weeks ago. I am going to list 100 homes in 150 days.
Wow. Wow. Well, I think being in Texas gives you a little bit of an advantage as well over some of our California folks, right?
It's a big state. Yeah.
That's great. So what's the end game for you? I mean, you talked about building a little legacy for your kids. I mean, you're still young. You know, Texas is still, you know, a lot of room to grow. Where do you see yourself going in the next 3 to 5 years?
So I think it's changed a little bit. I was always about, during this journey, I was always about world domination. And I say that because I wasn't going to quit until we covered the state of Texas, and then another state, and then another state, and I was going big. But I think what I found in this little transition that I've gone through, so 6-month dark cloud that I, you know, experienced, now that I'm on the other side of it, I'm realizing that I more care about my happiness and the balance of my family. So we're going to continue to grow this team. We're going to do it at a rate that makes sense, where we're attracting really good people. I do still plan to have teams across the entire state of Texas. Right now, we just have teams Central Texas and Houston. So we cover about a 6-hour radius from San Antonio all the way around, all the way up to Houston. But I do want to expand into other areas. So right now, that's our 3 to 5 year goal, is to build out what we already have functioning, improve our systems. And I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing because I'm happier today than I was 6 months ago as I was out of production. So I'm going to just keep setting big goals, helping this team grow. I want to get to 1,000 transactions in the next 2 years.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So what are your, you know, there's many different ways people generate leads. You mentioned earlier, you use Facebook. Today, as things stand and knowing the way the market's going, what are your big lead sources?
So for sellers, so that's what I'm working on right now is listings. We obviously YLOPO. We love YLOPO. That's probably our biggest ROI. I just started with Street Text. I don't know if you know Street Text. Found it on Lab Coat Agents. I really, really like that. That has accounted for 8 new listings in the last 2 weeks. That's a big deal. You have to do it correctly, though. Like anything, it's all about the follow-up. We use, as far as our CRM, we use FirePoint. So we get leads from FirePoint.
The PPC leads, yeah?
Yes.
Yep.
And then we still have realtor.com. They haven't pulled out of our market yet. So I still have realtor.com and sign calls. I mean, honestly, sign calls #1 above all, just because they're sitting in front of the house. But that's really what we have on lead sources now. Other than sending out our agents, we do have requirements that you need to do a certain number of open houses. So the team takes leads off those open houses, and our agents prospect through our database. So all those lead sources bring, leads into our system, and then they call through it on a daily basis to set those appointments.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Well, I think we've pretty much covered from rags to riches there. Just looking back, if you could tell, the younger Misty Bruton some piece of advice, what would you tell her?
I would tell her to find mentorship earlier. Find a group of people that inspire you. Be really cautious about who you associate with, because you can find yourself in some places that are very unexpected. So find mentorship earlier. Work on yourself first, so that you can have that self-confidence, that self-love under the skin, instead of worrying about what everybody else thinks. And just go big. Stop playing small. There's no room for small. This is a big world. If you have a desire, if you have that fire in your belly, go for it. Failing forward is really what is going to get you there.
Perfect. I love it. All right. So I appreciate your time. You've been amazing. I love all the transparency, and I hopefully, we've inspired a lot of people here, and what you've done is really, really incredible. So hats off to you.
Thank you so much. It really is an honor to be here, and I will have to call Tristan again and thank him. So thank you for everything you do. This was really amazing.
No, you're most welcome. All right, Misty, have a fantastic day.
Okay.
Thank you. Ciao.
too.
Bye-bye.